Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. I said at the very end of last year that one way I decided to try to help with the lack of episodes was to adapt old live shows into proper videos. And today's review is such a classic, beloved live show! Which you guys haven't seen since I did it for Too Many Games 2023 and didn't record it. Yeah, one that's fairly recent already, but hey, I was pretty happy with how this script turned out at the time, so it'll probably be worth some entertainment value. You know, we forget that video games, nowadays as a multi-billion-dollar industry, is a pretty young medium overall, only about 50 to 60 years old, really. And it's something fun to look back on how another medium viewed video games when it was roughly the same age that it is now. In this case, comic books! And in 1983, we had a book that did just that. Marvel 2-in-1 was essentially a title for Ben Grimm. Each issue would feature him teaming up with different Marvel heroes and characters. In the greatest idea in the history of sequential art, the first issue features the Thing teaming up with Man-Thing, which now just makes me wish that Ben Grimm was known as Thing-Man. The original run lasted 100 issues, with the penultimate featuring a team-up with Rom that we sadly never covered in the Rom-trospective. But then we have today's review, which makes me wonder if the book wasn't maybe running out of creative steam anyway, because the team-up is with Franklin Richards, Reed Richards and Sue Storm's son. Just feels like when we've already got a member of the Fantastic Four here, that teaming him up with another one associated with the team is a bit of a cheat for your team-up book. Let's dig into Marvel 2-in-1 number 98 and see why I covered this at a gaming convention.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he is a man, punch, sporadically a grouch. Linkara, he has his own spaceship, but he's always on his couch. Linkara, ghosts, gods, a universe in flux. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
The cover is kind of meh. Immediately your eye is drawn to the middle of his face, which you'd think is some kind of targeting reticle. But no, looking around, we see that it's actually some kind of maze featuring these electric worm things going through it with angry faces. This is what eventually happens with sea monkeys if they live long enough. Featuring special guest star Franklin Richards. Isn't that kind of like saying, and in this Sherlock Holmes story, he teams up with Dr. Watson? This particular issue is called Video Wars, which probably means that Ben Grimm is starting a YouTube feud with Mr. Beast. Not the YouTuber Mr. Beast, Beast from the X-Men. He actually got the screen name first, but YouTube threw its weight behind the other guy. Anyway, we open in an arcade, where Franklin Richards has just won a game on this arcade machine called Starfighter. Given the title and the fact that this came out a year before the movie, we can officially call Franklin Richards the first Starfighter. Last Starfighter, 1980s movie about an arcade game secretly produced by aliens. Look, I know my demographics breakdown of this channel. We're all old. While Ben is trying to be supportive, Franklin has beaten him in Starfighter like 15 times now, and it's getting kind of redundant for him. Say, Franklin, why don't we try this one? Mr. Muscles' Brawn Tester. Missile Command took a while before they settled on the final name. Aw, Uncle Benji, that's not for kids. You're so funny. Oh, I see. Mr. Muscles' Brawn Tester is actually a hentai game. I'm guessing a yaoi visual novel, just a hunch. The two leave the arcade. I've been wondering, Franklin, how come all you kids seem to be so good at these TV-type games? People, we have been saying the name wrong for decades, and that is on us. I do love that terminology. It sounds so much like a bad translation of the word video. Hell, they know it's video games. The comic is called Video Wars. Or was that a misprint and they meant to say TV-type wars? It's easy, Uncle Benji. You just watch someone else play for a while, and pretty soon you see that the bad guys always do the same things. And then you yell at the streamer in the chat that they're not doing it right and insult them a lot until the mod bans you. Credit where credit is due, this comic predicted Let's Plays before personal computers were a major thing. You mean the computers got patterns programmed into it? I guess. All I know is that if I move the good guy a certain way, I can get the bad guy to goof up. And then I zap him! Franklin Richards is fond of the genocide route in Undertale. Outside the Baxter building, they find the security guard preventing a guy from entering. He wants to see Reed Richards, but doesn't have an appointment, though Ben Grimm points out that the rest of the team are out of town anyway, so he wouldn't be able to see him even with one. His light bulb-shaped head is disappointed. Oh dear, that is inconvenient. I guess I'll have to find someone else to merchandise my new visual computer contest. As opposed to those computers you smell, I guess. Visual computer contest? If that means video game in English, this guy might give me some pointers on giving Franklin a run for his money. Okay, a few things. One, how do you translate visual computer contest as video games? Two, if it's video game in English, then I must ask where you got TV-type games from. Or is Ben thinking one of those TV plug-and-play consoles with, like, SpongeBob's nose as a controller? And three, Ben Grimm is so petty that he lost an arcade game to a 5-year-old. This comic predicted Fortnite! Ben invites the guy up to talk. He introduces himself as Dr. Giles Niven. My field of expertise is computer-assisted radio astronomy. Oh sweet, we found one of the devs behind Voices of the Void. In fact, that's how I became involved in my current enterprise. For some months, my equipment has been picking up some very interesting space noise. I'm planning on using it for an ambient noise ASMR YouTube channel. He explains that the noise is bits and pieces of radio transmissions from alien life forms. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft. He needs more powerful equipment to study it further. Therefore, I combined my work with my hobby, computer amusements, aka sharing memes on Reddit. And developed my interpretation of the space noise into a video game, one that I hope to bring to market to bring in the funds I require. Unfortunately, the game is made using a live service model and it dies within a month of release. So yeah, this guy developed a game utilizing space noise that he wants to use to fund his research. His hope was that Mr. Fantastic's endorsement of the game would lend him credibility, both with the scientific community and the general public. Still, he figures Ben Grimm's endorsement would do the same for the public. I've dubbed my game Space Saver. Finally, we're getting Marie Kondo the video game. And I programmed it onto this floppy disk. No wait, this is Optimus Prime's brain. Give me a second. Ben Grimm puts it into the computer. The game takes place on a mythical planet that has been invaded by creatures I call... That's just Pac-Man. Dude, you even have the Waka Waka sound effect there. You just made a Pac-Man clone and wanted the Fantastic Four to endorse your ripoff. That has been invaded by creatures I call the Gringy Gobblers. The Gobbler has a voracious appetite and is eating its way through the buildings of the planet's capital city, represented on the playfield by that maze. So really, this is more of a ripoff of Number Munchers? The only way the player, Space Saver, can save the city is by flying around and setting up force fields along the walls of the maze, thereby preventing the Gobbler from devouring them. So, okay, it's actually reverse Pac-Man. You're laying stuff down around the maze instead of munching up pellets. Of course, I imagine that the actual nature of the space noise is something less fanciful. I'd like to remind you all that this is his interpretation of the space noise. He listened to background static and was like, oh yeah, this sounds like someone setting up force fields to prevent some kind of Gringy Gobbler from eating buildings. Another mechanic of the game is that if the player gets too close to the Gobbler, it sends out gobble drones to follow them and attack. Damn hit scanners. Ben Grimm wants to give it a try and plugs in 2 joysticks for some reason. Like, there were some Atari 2600 games that utilized 2 controllers for 1 player, but given how Giles described the game, what would he need the second controller for? He then sets the computer to interactive mode, which is odd since I imagine all personal computers are by default interactive mode, and they're all teleported into the game. Congratulations! Turns out the real Marvel 2-in-1 here is the Thing teaming up with Tron. Actually, I'm exaggerating a bit. They're not in the game, but the 3 have been teleported away. You are on the planet Krith, and I am Sharilla, security master of the Krithian forces. I hope you'll forgive us for what we've done, but we need you, Space Saver. Space Saver? Me? Only you can reorganize their closets, Dr. Niven. So get this, I was gonna joke that my remarks about The Last Starfighter were actually relevant to this, that the comic was predicting the plot of that movie by having these aliens put out a video game to recruit people to fight their war. But it's actually the other way around. They detected Earth's radio waves, scanning them, and sent their own probes to analyze Earth. and in turn found the code for Niven's Space Saver game and interpreted it as some kind of log of a real hero's exploits. So instead of Last Starfighter, they actually predicted Galaxy Quest. So how do you think they interpreted the insert quarter message? Anyway, their planet is in danger, and the signal from Earth was lost for a bit, so when they detected it again via Ben Grimm turning on the game, they teleported whoever was near it to their planet. I don't have the heart to tell the lady her hero is just a game. Or worse, that they added microtransactions to it. She shows them that Niven's interpretation of the space noise was fairly accurate. Some kind of giant, monstrous energy creature from the planet Gorunji landed on their world and began devouring buildings. When they detected that Space Saver was fighting a similar menace, they figured he could help them. You see, my people are complete pacifists, and without someone to fight for us, we are certainly doomed. Yes, we are complete pacifists, but we're okay with other people killing indiscriminately. Honestly, we're just kind of lazy. Since his game gave their people hope, Dr. Niven is down to help them and suggests using the force field technique from the game. Well, we do have force bombs, which we use to create anti-meteor shields around our asteroid mining operations. Nothing says pacifism quite like something called force bombs. The thing asks for Franklin to be sent back to Earth, but their teleporter needs a few hours to recharge. However, Franklin wants to stay and help anyway, thinking that the Gobblers behave similar to a video game enemy, meaning we just have to find the Gobbler's big red shoot-me lights while it unleashes waves of regular enemies at us. Ben rejects this, saying that this isn't a game, even though actually everything about this has been weirdly similar to game mechanics, but whatever. Ben, Niven, and Shirilla board a flying car loaded with the force bombs.
I was promised flying cars.
They're extremely heavy, 500 pounds a pop, but the thing is, well, himself, so he can easily toss them. They begin deploying them on buildings, but after a while need to go and restock. I'll just cut through the passageway behind this museum. That should save us quite a bit of... And they run into rush hour traffic. Typical. No, they end up right in front of the Gobbler, which is odd. You'd think they'd be like coordinating with somebody to find out where the hell it is while they're doing this. They've passed too close to it, so it unleashes gobble drones at them. Quick, Doc! How does Space Saver handle this situation in your TV game? Man, I'd love it if Niven just had no idea what the hell he was talking about with that term, especially since they've been using video games since the last time. But no, Niven has bad news. I'm rather embarrassed to admit it, Mr. Grimm, but that's one of the details I haven't quite figured out yet. I was thinking of some kind of invincibility star. Or maybe a power-up that turns you into an elephant. Niven suggests that maybe they could trick the drones into destroying each other, and the thing jumps out of the flying car to do just that. He succeeds, making two collide with each other while he dodges out of the way. Unfortunately, the trick doesn't work a second time, the drones just dodging each other and realizing they need to go after him one at a time. Still, he figures on a new trick, using a communicator to coordinate with Giles and Shirilla on the position of the big gobbler, and causing a drone to slam into it. Ben is just lucky these things weren't programmed to clip right through each other. Unfortunately, the final drone is still on him, and he runs into some kind of edge of the area into a steep fall. This ain't no valley! It's a dead end! With the accent on dead! And this is the early 80s. There's no guarantee for him to respawn or have continues if he just jumps off. But there is a chance that there isn't any fall damage. He tells Giles to make sure Franklin gets back home if he doesn't make it. And tell him he's a stinking cheater at Starfighter. No way that kid could dodge that well unless he used an exploit or something. Giles refuses to let Ben die because of him and overrides Shirilla's control of the flying car. Thank goodness Mother insisted I take those pilot lessons. Let that be a lesson to you, parents. Have you taken your kids out to learn how to drive an alien flying car? How will they be ready for living in the real world without that skill? He has Shirilla jump out for her own safety, then drives the car right at the drone. He then hits the brakes hard, sending their final force bomb right at the drone, and oh yeah, look at how pacifist this bomb is. Truly a race devoted to peace. I kid, the drone is actually encased in a force field, which it will no doubt suffocate to death, dying even more horribly than in an explosion. Shirilla and the Thing praise Niven on his bravery for this. That was the bravest thing I've ever seen, Doctor. That is, Giles. Want to see why the ESRB rated me M for mature? It's too bad those force bombs aren't strong enough to hold back the Gobbler. Guess we'll have to settle for saving more real estate. Wait, the force fields aren't strong enough to stop the Gobbler. How are they strong enough to protect the buildings from an attack by it? What are you people even doing? Franklin says that he's been studying the gobbler and thinks that it always returns to the same place, just like in video games. Ben once again tries to put down the suggestion, but Shirilla thinks he may be onto something. Of course! We just have to do some spawn camping! Actually, Shirilla theorizes that since the gobbler is actually an energy being, it's not taking any nourishment from the buildings it eats, instead returning to a spot to recharge. Although if that's the case, why is it eating the buildings at all? Anyway, they soon find a spot where the gobbler must have brought its own battery with it. Franklin's suggestion may have saved them. Let me know if your dad ever wants to get rid of you, Franklin, because you could be my kid any day. Unfortunately, Ben Grimm would disown the child soon after when Franklin kept kicking his ass at Smash Brothers. They take the flying car out to the spot, soon discovering some kind of massive structure sitting there with a big hole in the middle of it.
He probably docks with the tunnel section and takes his sustenance from the machine.
You know, just like Bobby Kotick. Unfortunately, the gobbler has arrived to recharge as well. As the thing says, it's clobbering time. Yet weirdly, despite the declaration of what time it is, there's no punching involved. Instead, after the drones are dispatched again, he lifts up a rock and crushes one with it. Though I suppose "I will smash you with a big rock" doesn't have quite the same marketability as clobberin' time. He tosses the rock at another to take it out, but misses. Having lost the big rock, he has to flee from the last drone, busting through the wall of some rubble. He waits for it to try to come through, and punches it dead. Not sure why he couldn't do that a second ago. However, the main gobbler has taken the opportunity to get in closer. Since it worked so well against the drone, the thing tries to punch the gobbler, and it does nothing. The creature opens its mouth as if to release more drones, but instead it shoots him with some kind of energy blast. Ah, Ben, you've entered the second stage of the boss battle. Quick save now, man! It knocks him right back into the walls of the rubble. Meanwhile, Niven and Shirilla study the machine, discovering that it's designed to release an enormous amount of electrical energy into a receptacle that walks into the tunnel like the gobbler. God, I hate this part of the fight. You spend 10 minutes lowering the thing's health, and then it just recharges it and is invulnerable while it does so. Infinite recharges while you only have that one full health kit you picked up at the start of the level. Still, this gives Shirilla an idea while the thing recovers to resume the fight. He drops the rubble down on the creature, but it just starts getting back up through it. Damn it, Ben! Environmental hazards hurt the player, not the boss! Shirilla, meanwhile, reprograms the flying car to act as the receptacle of the machine, flying it on autopilot straight into the structure. However, since the car isn't designed to absorb the energy, said energy has nowhere to go, and the machine overloads and explodes. And given how close the two were to it, they should probably be dead, but hey, maybe it only happened in a cutscene. Or they used to continue. The gobbler stops, apparently having run out of energy and with no way to recharge, despawns from the map. Unfortunately, it didn't drop any good loot. Well, sell it back in town anyway. The thing says they can now go back home, but Niven says there's been a change of plans.
I've decided to turn my research and my video merchandising rights over to you and your teammates, while I stay behind on Krith.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that'll be legally binding. No, you gotta believe me. He gave me the rights to his video games while he stays on some alien planet that he's only been on for a couple of hours. Also his bank account number and apartment key. Actually, what am I saying? This is the Marvel Universe. That has to be a legal argument somewhere.
I do indeed feel there's a place for me here. There is, Giles.
Dude got to hook up with a hot green alien woman and make video games. He's living the dream. Several weeks later, the Fantastic Four are enjoying Franklin playing the game. This home cartridge of the Space Saver game is great, Stretcho. How are sales going? Well, this comic was printed right in the middle of the video game crash in 1983, so probably not great. Marketing has been excellent, Ben. We should show profit soon to set up that research grant in Dr. Niven's name. And that is when the studio is bought out by Activision and made to work on Call of Duty instead. And so our comic ends with the Thing saying that he's gotten a newfound appreciation and understanding of the game after this experience. But Franklin beats him again, and so the Thing decides he'll stick to checkers, rage-quitting video games. This comic is goofy and nonsensical, but it's a lot of fun. It has nothing really bad to say about video games, no negative messaging about it, or how only young people can really appreciate them, or they can be harmful or crap like that. Indeed, while some ideas presented are silly, like the aliens who think computer code is an historical record, or Niven somehow detecting a space noise that allowed him to create a video game that matched their current situation, using games for pattern recognition or strategy, or even how profitable video games are, is pretty ahead of its time. Niven staying to hook up with a woman he just met a few hours ago is ridiculous, of course, but there's an earnestness to the whole thing that just makes it incredibly fun. I also kind of find it interesting that you can interpret the Gobbler as basically a villainous version of Pac-Man. Certainly original. Just a cute little done-in-one that shows how fun video games are, and how Ben Grimm really kind of sucks at them. I wouldn't worry though, Ben. We'll get you hooked on some Animal Crossing, and you'll spend days building up your island. So yeah, this guy made a video game based on space noise to try to get funding for his work. Unfortunately, this is the game he made from it.
Hello my friends, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store envy link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Teespring. Thanks for watching!